Do you need more motivation? It turns out that checklist isn't just critical for motivation, it's actually really good for your productivity. You probably make a checklist during your day, and you probably do this fairly subconsciously. But what's amazing is that checklists, as it turns out, are really, really beneficial for increasing a person's productivity, and there's a reason for that. Every time you check something off the list, you actually get a little surge of dopamine. We used to think that dopamine was like the hedonism hormone because we saw a lot of it in addicts. But what recent research shows is that dopamine is in fact what we call the action hormone. Every time you do an action, you circulate a little bit of dopamine. Now here's what's critical. What we often say is a little bit of dopamine begets a lot of dopamine. If you get a little surge, you want even bigger surges. And so the reason that checklists work so well for increasing your productivity is because every time you check something off that list and you get a little surge of dopamine, your brain wants to stay productive so it can get even more dopamine. One of the ways to really make the best use of your checklist and of surging that dopamine is to list and record even small accomplishments in your day. If you do something that isn't on your list, put it on your list anyway and check it off. You will still get that little surge of dopamine that will be so helpful toward motivating you into the rest of your tasks. Okay, so checklists are so important for getting stuff done, and you know yourself how satisfying it is to check things off. Is there a way that we can take your checklist and make it even better? The answer is yes. What recent research shows is that you can take that same checklist, and if what you do is you put it into a schedule, you're actually even more likely to get more done in a more satisfied way with more motivation. Here's how. Part of the reason that putting your task list or your to-do list or your checklist into an actual schedule is that you cognitively have to organize and therefore prioritize what order you're going to do things in. Now, this helps for another reason as well. When what you do is you put what you want to get done into a task list, you also then logically order it, and you realize that there is an end date, an end time to the task that you've given yourself. And so people who put their task list into an actual schedule or calendar didn't just circulate more dopamine, they actually stayed on task, were less likely to stray, and were much more productive throughout their day. Finally, one of the things to make sure is that when you are using your checklist, write it down. What research has shown is that when you physically have to check something off a list, you actually get a bigger surge of dopamine because dopamine is the action hormone, and it's a big action to actually have to check something off as opposed to having to delete it on your computer. So make sure to actually write down your checklist and physically check things off. All right, I have an item for you for your checklist. Subscribe below, and that will be one more thing that you've gotten done today. Thanks. We'll see you tomorrow.